I know it's rich, I know it's creamy, and this is certainly what your doctor wouldn't advise. But once you get going on that butter chicken, it's very difficult to stop. So this is that gravy that the rice is cooked in, and that eventually becomes the biryani. That meat is soft. Mutton biryani. Chicken biryani. Fantastic. Well, this is the reason why we are here at the Taj Hotel in Shivaji Nagar today. There's nothing as comforting as the touch of some hot biryani. I just tasted the onion and 2 grains of the rice, and you can certainly notice the difference that the meat makes. And now the rice that has been half boiled there is now being portioned into the biryani eggs. There's some that went into the mutton, some that went into the chicken akhni. Now the biryani is going to rest. There's no fire there, but those charcoal embers are hot. I can feel that searing heat. Having seen the coming together of the biryani from the start to the finish, I think it's time to head to the dining area and taste the delicious fruits of our toil. Not my toil, but the toil of the chefs who worked so hard to put this together. Let's go. I've been here at the restaurant since 11:30 in the morning, and it's 2:15. Needless to say, I'm hungry because this is also my first meal. I'm breaking my fast with a Taj Biryani. Sounds great. And of course, I've also watched the making of it, so therefore I'm feeling hungrier. So we will get to the biryani eventually, but before the biryani, I'm going to taste a few other dishes that is very popular with the locals here. And I think we're going to make a beginning with some kebabs, and I'm told they also do a very special butter chicken, which I've been told will transport me back to the streets of Old Delhi. Mutton seekh kebab, idiyappam, mint chutney. Well, we're beginning with a seekh kebab that I'm told is also very popular with people here. So before they do the biryani, they have 1 or 2 of the appetizers. And I'm told the kebabs are popular. The chicken kebab, of course, which is a fried kebab, and this is a seekh kebab, which, if I'm not mistaken, is also cooked on a charcoal grill. The meat is smoky. I can certainly taste a bit of the fat in that seekh kebab. The kebab certainly has a bit of a bite to it. You can taste the granular structure of the meat. I think out here locally, people want their food to be vivid in color. So I'm sure there's also probably a spot of food color that goes into stain this seekh red. What's this?
Sallu ki butter chicken.
Sallu ki butter chicken.
Yes, sir.
So वो तंदूर में पकाया और उसके बाद क्रीम और बटर में डुबाया है.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh.
Khameri kulcha.
And with a khameri kulcha.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Well, 2 more dishes have made it to our table. This, I'm told, is a sallu ki butter chicken. So basically, this is a tandoori chicken that they douse in an indulgent medley of some cream and some butter. And you can see all that butter, all that melted butter floating at the edge of the dish. So certainly it's an indulgent dish, and then there's some bread to mop that with. It's always nice to crunch on the moistness of some onion with kebabs. There's also some idiyappam that people have with the kebabs. Slightly different combination than something that I would expect to find, because I would expect that idiyappam to be soaking up some gravy. But they say no, people also like it with that kebab. I like the smokiness of the seekh. You want a bit of a spicy, fresh sort of a kick. That mint chutney. Personally though, I like that kebab just as is. I think I can detect a slight sprinkling of some chaat masala somewhere, perhaps on that kebab. But what stood out for me in this kebab was the smokiness of the meat. What is that?
This is akhni.
That's your keema.
This is called Taj Parota, sir.
Well, I think the eatery has gone a bit overboard, and I'm going to do my best to preserve my appetite for that biryani. I want to watch some of the flavors of that chutney with that onion before I dive into that sallu's butter chicken. So this unfortunately is something that happens at times. Although I'm here actually just to taste the biryani and one or two things alongside, they want me to savor some of the dishes that have made them popular over time. Like this sallu's butter chicken. I'm just looking at all that cream and all that butter. This certainly is a dish that you should share with people. So let's say if you come in a group of 3 or 4, you can probably order for one of these. What of course you get on your palate firstly is a rich creaminess of that butter and cream. There's also a hint of sweetness somewhere. I don't know where that comes from. And then within that, the slight flavor of some of the spices that go into a tandoori masala. Perhaps some cumin somewhere. That chicken is moist. Cooked rather well. But it certainly is a dish for someone who's looking to indulge. And I guess that's where that khameri kulcha comes in, to mop some of that creamy sauce. I love the near biscuity texture of that khameri. It almost crunches like a soft naan khatai. There's also some sesame on top, and that gives it a nice nutty sort of a flavor. So there are multiple sections out here at Taj Hotel. The restaurant is split across 2 levels. So you have the normal section, both on the ground floor and the first floor, and then the air-conditioned section. When I slept in at 11:30, there were not too many people. But now, I think almost every table is occupied by its patrons. For them, Taj Biryani is a delicious, decades-old habit. I know it's rich, I know it's creamy, and this is certainly what your doctor wouldn't advise. But once you get going on that butter chicken, it's very difficult to stop. I'm quite tempted actually to go for some more of this, but I think we'll move to that akhni. So the akhni here is a special treat because this is not sold in the restaurant. But I'm told this is what they eat at home with some roti. So this is that gravy that the rice is cooked in, and that eventually becomes the biryani. That meat is soft. You know, one thing I was worried about when I knew they were going to serve me the akhni, I said when you taste the biryani or when the rice is cooked in that akhni, the flavors of that akhni would have somehow dissipated into that rice. I said, after tasting this, would that biryani appear a little fika, a little bland to my taste bud? Because I can certainly taste a bit of its punchy characters. I can taste the tartness of the tomato, I can taste the freshness that comes from coriander, some mint, and also the flavors that the onion that's braised at the beginning with some chili into that oil brings to that gravy. That meat is soft. What's nice about this khameri kulcha is also because it's a little bready, it has enough body to soak up that akhni, to soak up that gravy. Very good. I also like that tartness, that sourness that comes from tomato. There's also yogurt that goes into it, and I guess that also brings with it some of its acidity. This is absolutely delicious. I can spot a nalli here, and I'm certainly not going to let that escape my plate. So when you get here to the Taj after watching this video, you will not get the akhni, you will not find it on the menu because this is not something that they serve. But because they knew I was coming beforehand, they saved a portion of this for me because this is something they eat at home. And having tasted that first serving of the meat, I can now understand its appeal. Some marrows that readily want to say hello to you, and some that are shy. This one is the latter. Delicious. And now for some of that kheema. ये परोठे के साथ खाते हो?
Yes, sir.
I can taste the coriander, the mint in that. I can certainly taste the sprightliness of a lot of mint that goes into that keema. I also like the dardarapan of that keema. And this, I'm told, goes with the special Taj parota. So there's some tomatoes in there, some green chilies that I can spot. I think what they also use is the stalk of the coriander, and that brings with it its potent flavor. And that flaky, crusty paratha makes for a lovely companion to that keema masala. I think there's also some green chilies that go into it, and I can taste some of its spiciness now. There's also a bit of the fat that I'm tasting in its lips packing texture. The only thing that I'm a little worried about is my appetite, because by the time it gets to the biryani, it would have already tasted 4 or 5 things. I think I need to now taste rather judiciously, rather frugally, to preserve my palate for the biryanis. Chicken kebab, and that
Ghee rice.
I didn't even have to turn that direction. I can already smell the aroma of that hard spices. I can smell the aroma of the cinnamon that's cresting that ghee rice. Now अभी आप ज़्यादा ले आ रहे हो यार. इसके बाद कुछ नहीं. हाँ?
इसके बाद बिरयानी.
इसके बाद biryani. So this is the kali mirch ka fal. This is the mutton kali mirch fal, which is basically chops that's slow roasted on the tawa. Just give me one niwala, that's it. Okay, one more spoon, because I want to save my appetite for that biryani. That's it. I can feel the tuppa already in that rice. I can also smell the aroma of the cinnamon. Thank you. I've already tasted the akhni with the khameri kulcha, but I'm told it also makes for a great combination with the rice, with the ghee rice. I love the sprightly flavors of the akhni, be it the tartness of the tomato, a little bit of the freshness that you get of the coriander, mint, that savory, almost near caramel roasted flavor of that onion. Taste a piece of the chicken kebab. If you visit a non-vegetarian eatery in Nama Bengaluru, you've got to taste the kebab, the chicken kebab. It's crunchy, it's got a bit of that crispened edge, and cooked rather well all the way through. I'm enjoying the flavor of that ghee rice just as is. I love the cinnamon that's wafting through the rice. And some of that mutton kali mirch. When I make this mutton kali mirch chop, they cook the meat twice. First it gets cooked in a gravy with the masala, and then they slowly cook it on an open tawa and fortify it again with a bunch of spices. Some jeera, some coriander, and in this case also plenty of black pepper. Out here the meat has a bit of a bite. It's not as tender, fall of the bone as a biryani or the mutton pieces that are tasted in the fal. Out here there certainly is a bit of a bite to the meat, and that bite also allows you to extract more of that masala, more of that peppery masala that are held within the crevices of that chop. Also tiny bits of bone that you need to ferret once in a while. Other than that, makes for a tasty peppery preparation.
Mutton biryani.
Mutton biryani.
Yes, brinjal curry, raita. Chicken biryani.
Chicken biryani. Fantastic. Well, this is the reason why we are here at the Taj Hotel in Shivaji Nagar today. Actually, I hadn't watched the making of a biryani in a long time, and I thought if I were to do so, I should cover an iconic biryani, a biryani that has stood the test of time amongst its patrons for decades. And I think in the Taj we found the perfect candidate. So we've watched the making of both these biryanis. I think this is the mutton, I can see that nulli peep out there, and this is also that chicken biryani. And needless to say, I'm looking forward to savoring them both. And the biryanis here are served with a salan. This is a baigan ka salan, which is again a tomato based gravy. And then of course there is a raita, or what they also locally call as a masuro bhaji. I think we should make a beginning with that chicken biryani. There's nothing as comforting as the touch of some hot biryani. You know, this is a biryani that is very simple in the ingredients that go into it. Basically, if I recollect the ingredients correctly, in went the onions first along with the chilies into the 4 liter of oil, which was eventually going to cook, I think, about 15 kilos of meat and 15 kilos of rice. And then that cooked for a while, and then went the garlic, the red chili powder. A little later the ginger went in, and then also the meat and the yogurt, and that meat cooked in those simple ingredients. So this is a biryani that's quite straightforward in the manner that it is cooked, and also in terms of what you will taste on your palate. I think what hits you first is the savouriness of the onions, because after all, onions form the base of this biryani. And then there's also plenty of red chili powder that goes into that biryani, and that's the other thing that you taste at the back of your throat. And once you get past these two flavors, you then taste a bit of that tartness. The sweet tartness that comes from the tomatoes, also aided by the yogurt. You'll also catch slivers of onion every once in a while. That will give it a slightly Swedish sort of a tinge, because the onion's been near caramelized. It's a biryani that feels rather wholesome on the palate. And now for some meat, some chicken. The texture of the chicken is the sort that quite literally falls off the bone. The meat is moist inside. So to me, when you taste that biryani rice by itself, you can certainly taste a bit of that savouriness, that slight salty savouriness that comes in that biryani masala, along with that warmth that you can definitely feel on your palate. But when you balance it with the meat, in this case the chicken, it seems to somehow complement each other. If you want to kind of refresh your palate every once in a while, I think that's where that salan comes into play. It's mostly the character of the tomato that you taste in that. I think to a certain extent, not completely, that salan mimics the akhni that biryani rice is cooked in. So the flavors are complementing, but I think the role of the salan is to refresh your palate every once in a while. If there is such a thing as getting bored by eating the biryani, by reaching for scoop after scoop, morsel after morsel of biryani, well, you can go for that salan every once in a while. But as for me, I'm quite happy tasting that biryani rice and the meat all by itself. How many pieces of chicken do you have in this biryani?
One chicken में 2 pieces coming, sir.
And
Same like mutton also.
mutton or 2 pieces come. I think having tasted the chicken biryani, time for the mutton. हाँ? नहीं इसी में डाल दो यार. The akhni is the same. All that has changed is the meat, and that meat of course brings its own character. Chicken brings in as much as it can, but it is the lamb or the mutton, the sheep, which is the hero at this restaurant in the biryani. Actually, come to think of it, also in the other dishes that I tasted, be it the seekh or that very peppery fal, and also the akhni, which unfortunately for you is not sold in the restaurant, but the family was kind enough to save a portion of their lunch at home for me. What I also like is that you also have slivers of tomatoes, slivers of onions that you will see in the biryani rice. So for example, even with the tomatoes, they chop it coarsely such that it's not a complete puree, it's not a complete paste when you're tasting it in the biryani, even with the onions. So every once in a while you will come across a browned translucent sliver of the onion, which will serve to further accentuate the flavors that you're tasting. I just tasted the onion and 2 grains of the rice, and you can certainly notice the difference that the meat makes. In the chicken biryani, in the rice, I could definitely decipher a lot more of the savouriness of the onion, a lot more of that sharpness of the red chili powder, etc. But out here, the rice is so much more rounded in its flavors. There's still a bit of the tartness that I'm tasting of the tomato, but that rice is mellow. I think this is a piece of meat that held on to the bottom of the dek. I think out here, it's all about the mutton. Of course, I'm sure people come here and they love the chicken. We tasted the chicken kebab too, and that was quite nice. But I think the quality of the mutton that they procure in every dish that I tasted, be it in the kheema, be it in the kebab, or in this biryani, has been A1. I must say this biryani has cooled a bit as it was waiting for me to finish the other dishes on my table. When you're eating something like biryani, temperature makes a huge difference. Because when you're tasting the biryani, when it's hot, well, even the fat in that biryani, not just in the meat, but even in the rice, would be the sort that would be slightly molten in its form. And therefore, that sticks to the rice and also carries with it all that flavor. But as it cools down, the fat tends to congeal and therefore loses a bit of its assertiveness. So when you taste a biryani, always taste your biryani piping hot. That's the reason why they say when you're tasting a hot biryani straight off the dek, there's nothing that comes close. Of course, there's also a school that says, allow that biryani to cool down, allow the flavors to settle. But even if you do so, after a few hours, make sure that you revive the biryani. Make sure that you revive the flavors of the biryani, especially that of the fat, in the mutton biryani. Steam it a bit, and that will change the character of the flavors that you will taste on your palate. Also, when you're tasting slivers of the tomato, you're also tasting an enhanced flavor punch of the other ingredients that the tomato has trapped within its folds. In this case, some of that chili spike. This is a biryani that is mellow, yet warming in the impression that it leaves on your palate. So if you want to taste a delicious biryani tradition that goes back a century, definitely find your way here to Taj Hotel in Shivaji Nagar and taste their biryanis. Well, I'm speaking for the biryanis, but many of the dishes that I tasted before this too are the sort that are definitely noteworthy. If I were to return here, I would definitely be tasting that kheema for sure. Also that akhni, but that I won't find in the restaurant. I will have to go to Saad's home. And if you're the sort who doesn't mind a bit of indulgence, well, that sallu's butter chicken is also something that you can savor, especially with some of that bread, with that khameri kulcha. But if biryani is your thing, well, head directly to the biryani. My pick, of course, is a mutton biryani because that's a tradition that's been long standing here. But chicken lovers too will find their manna here in the chicken biryani that is served at Taj. I hope you enjoyed this delicious walkthrough, the kitchens of Taj Hotel, watching them make the biryani and also the tasting of all these dishes. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, stay strong and happy eating. फिरनी और अंडे का मीठा. Well, the bill is here and they said that I should also taste their desserts. So this of course is a firni, which I think will serve to cool things down. So of course when you're tasting the biryani, it feels nice and mellow. But as you're tasting the biryani and as you go niwala after niwala, scoop after scoop, you can certainly feel its warming impact. I think that's where something like this rice firni will come into play. And then they also make this ande ka meetha, which is made with some eggs and khoa, and I think it's baked. Oh, this is quite tasty. This is excellent.
It's the egg khova and almond paste.
Almond paste. Oh, this is excellent. And you bake it.
Yes, bake it on charcoal only, sir.
So good. When he said ande ki mithai, so I was expecting to taste a bit of that anda somewhere in it, but I'm not tasting any of that. What I'm tasting instead is the richness of that comes from the khoa, the dardarapan that comes from the almond, and then I love that caramelized texture. So good. I'm sure there's plenty of khoa that goes into it, which aids in its richness. So flavor wise, picturize a gulab jamun, but a gulab jamun that is perhaps a little dense. If you were to break it down, and if it had to have a little bit of the dardarapan, that's exactly the sort of flavors that I'm tasting here. That's delicious. Very good. Super. If you come here for the biryani, you can of course taste the firni, but the firni you'll get everywhere. But this ande ka meetha is quite a unique find. So good. And that's a wrap on my meal here at Taj Hotel. If you'd like to support the work that we do at Food Lovers TV, do consider joining our membership community on YouTube by hitting the join button below or on the home page. You could pledge a nominal sum and receive special privileges like behind the scenes footage, shoot updates, access to live Q&As and a lot more. You could support us on our Patreon page as well. For more info, check out the links in the description below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share and leave a comment below. Happy eating.